Mock draft time here at the channel. We saw the first week of free agency come and go. Mel Kiper, ESPN, Daryl Jeremiah, NFL Network, both released their most recent NFL mock drafts after the initial wave of NFL free agency. Both of them had the Dolphins selecting different players and different positions with the 13th overall pick. So I want to break down both of those moves Miami could make in the draft. But before we get into that, make sure you're following us over on Instagram. Dolphins Today IG is our handle. We're posting more short form content over on our IG. You see the handle at the bottom of the screen. If you want more Dolphins coverage and content in between our YouTube videos, that's the place to find it. So go give us a follow right now. All right, we'll start with Mel Kiper of ESPN because he had the Dolphins selecting offensive lineman Will Campbell, the LSU O lineman. And this is an intriguing player because many viewed him as the number one offensive lineman very early in this NFL draft process. Then teams started to say, well, maybe this guy's actually a guard and not a left tackle like he was for 3 seasons at LSU. And then the combine happens. Armand Membu absolutely dominates the combine after having a really good final season in Missouri. And now he's projected to be the first offensive lineman off the board. And with the Bears making 3 moves on the interior offensive line and the Niners maybe going with Armand Membu, is there a world where Will Campbell slips to 13 for Miami? Well, before we talk about him more as a prospect, I did want to inform the people in the chat about what players Mel Kiper had the Dolphins passing on to select Will Campbell at 13 overall. These were the 5 best players on the board, in my opinion, that the Miami Dolphins could be looking at that they ultimately passed on. Will Johnson, Nic Rohloff, Derek Harmon, Jahdae Barron, and Malaki Starks. So all 3 of those defensive backs / corners, actually all 4 of them that are projected to go in the first round were still there. And Derek Harmon, the top defensive lineman in that range with Mason Graham off of the board, was still on the board as well. Now, with that being said, I like these 5 players, but if Will Campbell is there at pick number 13, I am not just turning in the draft card. I am not just running to the podium to tell Roger Goodell. I am full on sprinting. I'm trying to run that 40-yard dash that Devon Achane ran because Will Campbell, to me, would be a home run selection. Even if you sign a free agent kind of one-year guy at left guard, like a Brandon Scherf, I would still contemplate taking Will Campbell with that pick if he was there at 13. And yes, the PFF grades will not be as pretty in 2024 as it was over the past couple of seasons for Campbell, but I have consistently mentioned this with this player. He is a 3-year starter at LSU. He came in as a true freshman, 18 years old, and started at left tackle at one of the most premier SEC schools in the entire country. That is very, very rare. And then became a team captain in 2023 and was another captain in 24. This guy screams leadership and screams toughness, which is something Miami could absolutely want and need on this offensive line. And as where things currently stand at the offensive line, that left guard spot absolutely needs to be filled. Teron Armstead's still technically on the roster, but it's anticipated he retires, and it's been reported that Miami's moving forward with Paul as their starting left tackle. You got Brewer, Daniels, and Jackson on that middle to right side. I like the middle to right side, but you need to fill out that left side, and I don't trust Larry Borum or Liam Eichenberg to be a starter, and if that's the case, I don't even know if I'm going to watch this upcoming season. Just kidding. But with Will Campbell, to me, he's a day 1 left guard. You could plug him in, and although he didn't play in college, his size profile fits that kind of scheme. He's a good athletic guy. He moved well at the NFL Combine as well, and I believe he would be an excellent fit in that zone scheme that Miami Dolphins run with Mike McDaniel's offense. Will Campbell, to me, would be a day 1 starter with versatility, potentially move outside in the future as well if Patrick Paul didn't work out or you wanted to move off of Austin Jackson and move Will Campbell to right tackle. To me, this is a home run pick if the Dolphins ended up having him on the board. But let me know your thoughts. Would you want to draft Will Campbell at pick number 13? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. It's the pinned comment on today's show. Type Y for yes, type N for no. All right, let's look at what Mel Kiper said on the selection. Kiper said that Miami should be focused on finding Armstead's heir apparent. Plus, this team ranked 28th in pass block win rate last season, 55.7%, so it needs upgrading anyway. Yes, Campbell's arm length comes into question. He measured at 32 and 5/8 inches at the combine, which isn't ideal for an NFL offensive tackle, but plenty of tackles start their careers at guards, and Campbell's great footwork points to successful career despite the length limitations. Now, I do agree with Will Campbell being able to move inside very easily and his footwork and technique allowing him to go back outside despite the short arm length if necessary. But I still think Mel is misinformed here, saying that the Dolphins need to find Armstead's heir apparent. I understand it's a hole, but you drafted Patrick Paul in the second round, a top 55 selection last season. He was the understudy to Armstead this past year and played in 3 games. Was it the most pretty 3 games of all time? No, I'm not going to act like he was perfect. But that is the scheduled and slated heir apparent to Teron Armstead. So I don't understand why Kiper believed that Campbell would be that guy. But I do think Chris Grier will love Will Campbell. One thing that Chris Grier does quite a bit when it comes to offensive linemen, he values versatility. We've seen it time in, time out. Liam Eichenberg. I know he's not a good ball player, but let's face the facts. He's played offensive tackle. He's played center, and he's played both left guard and right guard. And he still keeps on re-signing him. Can't quit him. He signed Isaiah Wynn in free agency, a versatile guy who's played outside and inside. Like Austin Jackson has also played guard and tackle in the NFL. He likes versatility. He likes the ability to have people play both guard and tackle. Will Campbell provides that. I expect him to be high on the Dolphins draft board in late April. All right, we're going to get to the other mock draft here in just a second, but we are sponsored by Prize Picks, the #1 daily fantasy sports platform out there. I play Prize Picks every single day, and hopefully you join me because, boy, is it a fun time of year to play daily fantasy sports. You have the professional basketball league coming down to the postseason. You have college basketball postseason beginning, baseball getting underway, hockey is here as well. You can combine all your favorite players from the different leagues and make your entry as customized as possible. Don't miss your chance to cash in as the league's best fight for playoff positioning. They also have weekly promotions like Taco Tuesday. I have an entry for college basketball, 3-player entry, games tip off today, so get started. More than Janai Broom, half a point, free entry from Prize Picks. Shout out to Janai Broom, likely going to be the player of the year in college basketball. More than John Palakadis from Yale, more than Joe Bamisell from VCU, 3-pointers made, 3-player entry here. You can take my picks. You can take other people's picks. But join me and millions of others on Prize Picks. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. One more time. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. All right, Daniel Jeremiah. He released his mock draft as well. And he had the Dolphins going to the safety position, taking Georgia DB Malaki Starks with the 13th overall pick. This is someone that I really, really like, and I would be very, very happy with if he was the pick at 13 overall for the Miami Dolphins. And like we did with ESPN's Mel Kiper, I wanted to look at to see who the Dolphins passed on for this selection. And there is an interesting player that was on the board, Tyler Warren, the tight end from Penn State, who many people, including myself, believe is a top 10 lock. But in Daniel Jeremiah's mock draft, he went 14th overall to the Indianapolis Colts, which Miami passed on him. They also passed on Will Johnson again, the corner from Michigan. They obviously passed on Nick Rohloff, the safety from South Carolina. But interesting enough, Jahdae Barron went ahead of Malaki Starks. Barron went in the top 12 picks of this mock draft. So the other players that the Dolphins passed on, Kelvin Banks and Derek Harmon, once again, Will Campbell was off the board in this mock draft from Daniel Jeremiah. We'll talk more about Starks and his potential fit, but make sure you are subscribed to the channel for daily Dolphins content, but also to take down the Jets report. We've been doing a sub-battle with the Jets channel here at Chat Sports all week long. We're up early in this one, but we still got 3 or 4 days left in the week. Take advantage, hit that sub button for daily Dolphins content, but also we got to beat the Jets. I've liked Malaki Starks for a while, and I've consistently said that I think he is a no-doubt starting caliber, a Pro Bowl caliber type of safety. I really do. maybe I'm a little bit high on him, but I think if you take away positional value, which we know safeties are valued a bit lower compared to offensive line, defensive line, corner, wide receiver, other positions, I think Starks is a top 5 player in this class. He has the perfect ability to cover. His movement is so fluid. I watched him do safety drills at the Pro Day on video that Georgia hosted, which, by the way, Miami had Greer, McDaniel, and Anthony Weaver at. He just looked like a different ball player moving around. It like gliding through air almost. And his numbers backed it up in coverage, and he is able to make plays in the run game as well. He's a physical player in the box. I just could not be more excited with potentially adding Malaki Starks to this defense. I tell you what, if the pick for the Dolphins at 13 was Malaki Starks, I would have a Malaki Starks jersey ordered that night. Now, with that being said, though, I mentioned that the Dolphins passed on a certain player at 13 in this Daniel Jeremiah mock draft, being tight end Tyler Warren. I like Starks, and I know the tight end position isn't a major need for Miami. It would be hard to pass on Tyler Warren. We're talking about an absolute game changer at the position that would just overhaul your offense, because now you're running 2 tight end sets for the most part. Warren could block. He can be a dominant pass catcher over the middle of the field at tight end, and with Jonnu having 1 year left on his contract, well, you might ultimately want him to be his long-term replacement. But I would understand passing on Warren due to positional need at safety, because right now, this is where things stand at the safety room. You signed Ifeatu, Melifonwu, and Ashtyn Davis in free agency. I both view them as free safeties. Melifonwu started his career as a corner, transitioned to safety. Ashtyn Davis is a good free roaming safety as well. You have the 6th-round pick from last year, Patrick Morris, Jordan Colbert, and Elijah Campbell on this depth chart as well, but you need another safety. And I think needing a strong safety and a free safety is overrated. Like, you don't need to pencil them into strong safety or free safety. You just need 2 safeties back there. And I think Miami still needs one. I like Davis, I like Melifonwu. But the truth is, I think at best they are a safety number 2 and a safety number 3. That also requires the 2 of them to stay healthy for the entire season. And that is something Melifonwu specifically has not been able to do. So drafting a safety in round 1, round 2, or round 3 is a necessity for Miami, unless they go out and sign a player like Julian Blackmon, who's still out in free agency, but I do not anticipate them doing it, even though I wish they did. They need to draft one. Starks is my top safety personally, and I would be happy with the pick at 13. So, we did 2 prospect breakdowns today, because that's what Mel Kiper and Daniel Jeremiah had the Dolphins doing with the 13th pick. Which player would you prefer? Type WC if you'd like Will Campbell. Type MS if you would prefer Malaki Starks. I like Will Campbell. He's on the board. I think you draft him. I said that earlier. I think he would be my number 1 guy overall, just due to his ability to be a cornerstone on an offensive line for, I think, a decade plus. And I will be honest, I like Starks a lot, but if both him and Will Johnson, the corner from Michigan, are on the board, I would heavily contemplate taking Will Johnson. I know safety and corner are both needs, but Johnson was absolutely nails in 2023, battled injuries in 2024, still viewed as one of the top 2 or 3 corners in this draft, if not one. It's definitely 1 or 2. It's either him or Barron. I like Will Johnson a lot too. He could be your CB2 this year, but then take over Jalen Ramsey in the future. Either way, I think the Dolphins are in a good spot to draft a good player at pick number 13. And like I mentioned off the top, make sure you're following us over on Instagram. Dolphins Today IG is our handle. We break down Dolphins football even more on short form version and content outside of our YouTube videos. So go give us a follow on Dolphins Today IG right now.